Ever wonder why time sometimes feels so different? In Japan, a train 30 seconds late makes national news. In Ghana, a meeting starts when everyone has arrived, even if it's an hour later. And here's the twist. Neither is wrong, because time isn't universal. It's cultural. For some of us, time is a straight arrow, past, present, future. For others, it's a circle, seasons, ancestors, renewal. Some cultures live by the clock, others live by the flow of relationships. And get this, even the language you speak can bend how you imagine time. In English, we look forward to the future, but in the Andes, the Aymara say the past is in front because you can see it, and the future is behind you, unseen. So here's my question. Whose time are you living in right now? If that made you stop and think, hit like, drop your culture's view of time in the comments, and watch the full video, I promise it'll change the way you see the world. Have you ever sat and wondered why sometimes an hour feels like a minute, and sometimes a minute feels like an hour? We've all felt it. Waiting for an elevator when you're late can feel endless. But sitting with an old friend, an entire evening can vanish in what feels like seconds. Here's the thing. Time doesn't really change. What changes is how we live it. And here's the twist. Not everyone lives it the same way. Let me take you around the world. In Tokyo, if a train arrives 30 seconds late, newspapers report it. The train company might even issue a public apology. People build their entire day on the assumption that every system runs to the second. In fact, Japan's famous Shinkansen bullet trains have an average annual delay of less than a minute. Imagine that. Less than 60 seconds out of millions of trips. Now travel with me to Ghana, Nigeria, or Kenya. A village meeting might be set for 10 in the morning. You show up on time, only to find a few people sitting under a tree, chatting, waiting. Slowly, others arrive. Maybe the chief comes a little later. The meeting truly begins not at 10 sharp, but when everyone who matters is present. In this world, time bends around people, not the other way around. Here's where it gets fascinating. Neither Tokyo nor Ghana is wrong. They're just telling different stories about time. Most of us grow up thinking time is universal, ticking away the same everywhere. That's only half true. Sure, the Earth spins in 24 hours, seasons shift, years roll by. That's natural time. But how we humans organize, feel, and live time, that's cultural. It's not written in stone. It's written in our traditions, our habits, even our languages. In much of the Western world, time is imagined as a straight arrow. The past is behind us, the present is where we stand, and the future stretches out in front. This view shapes everything. The way companies push for innovation, how schools prepare students for the next stage, how personal lives are measured by milestones, birthdays, graduations, careers, retirements. Time is progress. To be on time is to be responsible. To be behind is failure. But this arrow view of time isn't the only one. In many indigenous cultures, time is cyclical. It's not a race from past to future, it's a rhythm. Life repeats in patterns, the turning of seasons, the cycles of planting and harvest, the passing of generations. The past doesn't vanish, it returns. Traditions aren't old, they're alive, connecting ancestors to descendants. Let me give you a simple example. In Western culture, we celebrate birthdays as steps forward. She's turning 30, moving into the next chapter. But in cyclical cultures, age might be understood as renewal, as another circle completing. Time isn't about leaving childhood behind. It's about carrying each stage with you in a repeating cycle of growth, decay, and rebirth. Think about legacy. In a linear worldview, you build for the future. You plant seeds for what's next, aiming to leave behind progress. In a cyclical worldview, you preserve continuity. You honor the land so it can feed generations. You protect traditions so they can circle back and guide the living. Here's a true-life contrast. In Silicon Valley, California, tech companies spend billions chasing the next big thing. The pressure is always forward, forward, forward. But in Maori culture of New Zealand, meetings often begin with storytelling, honoring the ancestors and grounding the present moment in the past. For them, the past isn't gone. It's right here, informing every decision. Both worldviews matter. Both have strengths. The linear arrow pushes us toward progress, invention, and discovery. The cyclical loop roots us in continuity, sustainability, and respect. But when these two collide, say in international business, politics, or even personal relationships, the clash can be dramatic. Imagine a Western development project in a rural African community. The planners want deadlines, milestones, and quick results. The community, however, wants to discuss, consult elders, and ensure decisions honor traditions. The outsiders may feel frustrated. Why is everything so slow? But for the community, rushing is dangerous. It risks breaking the cycle that sustains them. Time isn't just ticking, it's perspective. And the beauty of realizing this is that it changes how we see people. That person who seems late, maybe they're just living in a different rhythm. That community that seems stuck in the past, maybe they're deeply connected to a cycle we've forgotten. So here's my question for you. Are you living on the arrow or on the loop? Drop your answer in the comments. And while you're here, hit like if this opened your eyes even a little. Share it with someone who's always stressing about being on time. And don't forget to subscribe, because in the next chapter, we're going deeper. We'll explore why some cultures treat time like blocks in a calendar, while others treat it like flowing water. And trust me, that's where the story gets even more surprising. If you've ever worked with people from different countries, you've probably felt it. The invisible tug of war over time. One side insists on sticking to the schedule. The other side takes things as they come. It's more than personality. It's culture. The anthropologist Edward T. Hall gave us the language to describe it. He called it monochronic and polychronic time. In a monochronic world, time is like a neatly cut loaf of bread. Each slice has its place. You eat one piece at a time, no mixing, no rushing. People in these cultures value punctuality, order, and focus. A meeting scheduled for 9 a.m.? It starts at 9 sharp, not 9:01. You don't interrupt. You don't multitask. Time is segmented, like a well-organized planner. Think Germany, Switzerland, Japan. In Germany, there is even a saying, Pünktlichkeit ist die Höflichkeit der Könige. Punctuality is the politeness of kings. In Japan, showing up late to a business meeting is a deep insult, suggesting disrespect. In Switzerland, trains are so reliable that missing one is usually the passenger's fault, not the railway's. Now step into a polychronic world. Time here is like water, flowing and bending. People may juggle several tasks at once, switch between conversations, and see interruptions as part of life. What matters isn't the clock, it's the relationship. Picture Mexico City. You set a lunch meeting for noon. Your colleague arrives at 12:30, smiling, apologizing, but also unfazed. For them, time isn't wasted. It's simply flexible. Or in Lagos, Nigeria, a wedding invitation might say, starts at 2 p.m. Everyone knows that's really a suggestion. Guests trickle in, the bride may appear hours later, and the event still feels complete. Neither way is wrong. They're just different rhythms. Now imagine what happens when these rhythms collide. A Canadian executive schedules a Zoom meeting with a team in Cairo. She expects the call to start on the dot. Some colleagues join late after finishing conversations with others in the office. She feels disrespected. They feel pressured. No one intended harm, but frustration builds. I'll give you a real example. A multinational corporation tried to implement strict time management policies across its global offices. Employees in Latin America and the Middle East quietly resisted. For them, relationships mattered more than rigid schedules. Productivity actually dropped because the policy ignored their natural way of working. Eventually, the company had to rethink. Efficiency doesn't always mean punctuality. Sometimes it means harmony. Here's another layer. Daily life. In monochronic cultures, time is money. Don't waste my time is a common phrase. Doctor's appointments, work shifts, even social events are tightly scheduled. But in polychronic cultures, time is abundant. If you run into a friend on the street, you stop and chat, even if it means arriving late elsewhere. To not stop would be unthinkable. Ask yourself, how do you react when someone interrupts your work? If you're from a monochronic culture, you may feel irritation. If you're from a polychronic one, you might welcome the interruption. It's part of human connection. And this isn't just about meetings. It affects family life, friendships, even love. In monochronic societies, a romantic date might be ruined if someone arrives late. In polychronic ones, showing up late might not matter at all, as long as you show up with your heart. These cultural rhythms have deep roots. Industrialization pushed many Western societies into strict time discipline. The factory whistle told workers when to start and stop, and being late had real consequences. Meanwhile, in agrarian or community-based societies, life flowed with natural rhythms: sunrise, sunset, harvest, prayer times, not factory clocks. So today, these echoes remain. Some societies move by the clock, others move by the pulse of relationships. And here's the magic. When we learn to understand both, we get better at living in a global world. If you're monochronic, learning to loosen up can help you build trust in cultures where relationships matter most. If you're polychronic, learning to respect schedules can open doors in cultures where time is sacred. It's like music. Some cultures play in strict tempo, others improvise, but together they can create a richer song. So let me ask you, when you think about your own day, do you hear the ticking of a clock or the flow of a river? Comment below. Are you monochronic or polychronic? And while you're here, hit like if this part made you rethink your daily rhythm. Share it with someone who always complains about being late. And don't forget to subscribe, because in the next story, we're diving even deeper. We'll explore how the very words we speak bend the way we imagine time itself. Let me tell you a story that flips everything you thought you knew about time on its head. In English, we say we look forward to the future and put the past behind us. Makes sense, right? We imagine the future ahead, the past behind. But travel high into the Andes Mountains of South America, sit with an elder of the Aymara people, and you'll discover something astonishing. For the Aymara, the past is in front of them. Why? Because it's visible. You can see it, you can remember it, and the future, that lies behind, unseen, unknown, hidden from view. When Aymara speakers talk about tomorrow, they literally gesture behind their backs. When they speak of yesterday, they gesture in front of themselves. It's not just a quirk, it's a world view. And they're not alone. Around the world, languages bend time in ways that shape how people live it. Take English. We think of time horizontally, left to right, just like we read. A timeline, neat and tidy. But in Mandarin Chinese, time is often imagined vertically. The past is up, the future is down. In Arabic and Hebrew, time often flows right to left, mirroring how the language is written. If you're an English speaker, you probably imagine next week as something in front of you. But if you're Mandarin speaking, you might imagine it below you. If you're Aymara, you might imagine it creeping up from behind. Each of us carries a mental map of time that is literally shaped by the words we use. This isn't just poetry. Cognitive scientists have tested it. In one experiment, English speakers arranged pictures of events from left to right. Hebrew speakers lined them right to left. Mandarin speakers sometimes stack them vertically. Language doesn't just describe time, it guides how our brains organize it. And it goes deeper. Some languages, like English, French, or Spanish, are obsessed with tenses. Every sentence forces you to mark time. I walked, I walk, I will walk. You can't escape it. Others, like Mandarin or Indonesian, don't always mark tense. Context tells you whether something happened yesterday or will happen tomorrow. Does that difference matter? Some researchers say yes. Economist Keith Chen suggested that speakers of futureless languages, like Mandarin or Finnish, are more likely to save money, exercise, and plan for the long term. Why? Because the future feels closer, less separate from the present. You don't have to constantly shove it into a different tense. It's part of now. Of course, it's not as simple as language determines destiny. Culture, economy, and history all play roles. But the point is this: the words we speak shape the way we see time. Here's another fascinating twist. In English, we treat time like a commodity. We spend time. We save time. We waste time. In Spanish, you pass time more like a journey. In Hopi, a Native American language, traditional descriptions of time emphasize events and cycles, not units like minutes and hours. Think about how this shows up in daily life. A busy professional in New York might say, "I don't have time for this." But in cultures where time isn't thought of as a currency, that sentence doesn't even make sense. Time isn't to something you have or done to have, it is something you are in. Language doesn't just reflect reality, it builds it. Let me share one more image with you. Imagine two friends standing at the base of a mountain. The English speaker says, "The future is ahead, up the mountain, something we're climbing toward." The Aymara speaker says, "No, the past is ahead because we've seen it. The future is behind, sneaking up on us." Same mountain, same moment. Two completely different worlds of time. And yet neither is wrong. Both are true for the people who live in them. So the next time you hear someone describe time in a way that sounds strange to you, pause. Maybe they're not confused. Maybe they're revealing another way the human mind can shape the infinite. Tell me in the comments, does your language treat the past and future differently? And if this chapter bent your brain even a little, hit like, share it with a friend, and subscribe. Because in the final part, we're going to bring all of these worlds of time together. And trust me, it might just change the way you see people forever. Let me take you into a boardroom. A U.S. manager is leading a meeting. She's watching the clock, keeping notes, pushing the agenda forward. For her, time is money. Every minute wasted is productivity lost. Across the table sits her Nigerian colleague, who is less focused on the agenda and more on making sure everyone in the room feels heard, connected, and respected. When the meeting starts late, he isn't worried, but she's silently fuming. Here we have two brilliant professionals, both with the same goal, and yet they're living in completely different versions of time. One on the clock, the other in the flow of relationships. This kind of moment plays out every single day in our globalized world. And it doesn't stop at business. Think about relationships. In the U.S., a friend who's constantly late may test your patience, maybe even your friendship. In Latin America or the Middle East, arriving late can simply mean you stopped to greet someone else, or your cousin dropped by, or life just shifted. It's not disrespect, it's being human. Think about progress. In Silicon Valley, startups chant, "Move fast and break things. Tomorrow matters more than yesterday." But in Maori culture in New Zealand, meetings often begin with a whakapapa, a recitation of genealogy, placing everyone in a living chain of ancestors and descendants. Progress there isn't about breaking with the past. It's about carrying it forward. Think about education. Western schools often measure success with grades, deadlines, and moving up levels. Time as a ladder. In indigenous traditions, learning is often cyclical. You return to teachings again and again, like walking around a sacred fire. Knowledge deepens with repetition, not with racing forward. So here's the question: how do we bridge these worlds? First, we need to admit something simple. Our way of time isn't the only way. That's easy to say, but hard to live. If you've grown up in a culture where punctuality is everything, it's painful when others don't match your rhythm. If you've grown up in a flexible culture, it feels cold when someone cares more about the clock than about you. Second, we need to shift from frustration to curiosity. Instead of saying, "They're late," ask, "What does time mean to them?" Instead of saying, "They don't care about the past," ask, "What cycle are they honoring that I can't see?" Third, we need to find balance. A project might need deadlines to succeed, but it also needs relationships to last. A family might need schedules to function, but it also needs flexibility for love. A community might need progress, but it also needs continuity. Here's a real-life example of balance. A global health initiative once struggled because Western doctors wanted to push immediate results in African villages, while local leaders insisted on lengthy consultations with elders. Progress stalled. Then someone suggested combining the two. Respect the elders' cycles of decision-making, but also set agreed timelines for specific actions. Suddenly, both sides felt respected, and the project succeeded. Bridging time isn't about choosing one version over the other. It's about weaving them together. And when you do, something beautiful happens. Misunderstandings turn into respect. Frustration turns into empathy. Instead of clashing, the arrow and the circle dance together. Because here's the truth. Time isn't just hours and minutes. Time is story. And every culture is telling a different story about what it means to be human. When we listen to those stories, we don't just learn about others. We learn about ourselves. So the next time you feel irritation rising because someone is late, pause. The next time you can't understand why someone clings to tradition instead of chasing the new, pause. The next time someone measures success differently than you do, pause. And ask yourself this simple question. Whose time am I living in right now? That one question might change the way you see the world. If this series made you stop and think, hit like right now. Share it with a friend who always argues about being on time. And tell me in the comments, what one moment in your life when someone's different sense of time surprised you? And if you want more journeys like this, stories that peel back the layers of culture, history, and humanity, make sure you subscribe, because the next story might just change the way you see yourself.